The Silent Witness. It was an ordinary Monday morning in the small town of Brookside, a place where nothing ever happened. Nestled between quiet hills, it was a town that seemed to have escaped the chaos of the world, where everyone knew everyone else's business and life followed a predictable rhythm. But today was different. Today, something was about to change. Detective Clara Turner sat at her desk at the Brookside Police Department, sipping her coffee as the first rays of sunlight streamed through the window. Her mind was still foggy from a restless night, but she had learned long ago that a detective's job didn't wait for rest. The call had come just an hour ago, something that was both unexpected and unusual in this sleepy town. "Clara, you need to come to the old Willoughby estate," said Officer Harris over the phone. "We've got a situation." Clara frowned. The Willoughby estate had been abandoned for years. The grand mansion had once belonged to a wealthy family, but after a mysterious fire, it was left to rot. Kids would sneak in for dares, but no one had ever been foolish enough to claim ownership of the property. When Clara arrived at the mansion, the place was shrouded in a thick fog that seemed to cling to the old stone walls. Officers stood near the front gates, looking uneasy. As she approached, Harris, the officer who had called her, met her at the entrance. His face was pale. "What happened?" Clara asked, her voice calm but steady. "We found a body," Harris said. "A man. He's inside." Clara nodded. She stepped inside, the floor creaking beneath her boots. The smell of damp wood and mold hit her immediately. The house was in disrepair, broken windows, cracked ceilings, and dust everywhere. But what immediately struck her was the unsettling silence. It was as if the house itself was holding its breath. They led her to a room on the second floor. It was a large, once elegant parlor, now dim and decayed. The body lay sprawled out on the rug in the center of the room, a man in his late 30s. He was dressed in a dark suit, his face twisted in an expression of fear. There was no blood, no obvious signs of violence. Clara knelt beside the body. "Cause of death?" "Not sure yet," Harris replied. "No visible wounds. It's as though he simply collapsed." But his eyes, they're wide open, like he saw something horrifying. Clara glanced around the room, noting the strange stillness. There was something wrong with this place, but she couldn't put her finger on it. She stood and began to inspect the surroundings. A broken chair by the fireplace, an overturned lamp, a torn book on the floor. But nothing unusual. Nothing that explained a death. "There's no sign of struggle," Clara muttered to herself. "Who is he?" "We're still trying to ID him," Harris said. "But he's not from around here. No one recognized him." Clara looked closer at the body. There was a small silver locket around the man's neck. She carefully opened it, revealing a photograph inside, a woman and a young child, smiling. It looked old, faded, like it had been there for years. "Where did you find him?" Clara asked, holding the locket in her hand. "Near the back of the house. There's a door that leads to the garden. It was unlocked." Clara nodded. "I want to see it." They moved through the house, out into a neglected garden that had long been overtaken by weeds. The air was thick with the scent of decay. Clara's eyes scanned the area. There were no signs of recent activity, but something about the garden felt off. She noticed a patch of ground near the garden wall. The soil had been disturbed, recently dug up. She crouched down, brushing aside the dirt. Beneath the earth, she found a small metal box, old and rusted. "Clara, what is it?" Harris asked, stepping forward. Clara opened the box with care, revealing a collection of documents. She pulled them out, carefully reading the fragile papers. They were records, letters, photographs, and a will. But they weren't just any records. They were from the Willoughby family. "This is strange," Clara muttered. "This man. He's connected to the Willoughbys. Harris looked confused. The Willoughbys? But they've been gone for years. Clara stood up, the box still in her hands. Exactly. But this man is linked to them, somehow. We need to find out more about him and why he was here. As they returned to the mansion, Clara's mind raced. The Willoughby family had always been surrounded by rumors. A tragic fire that claimed the lives of the parents, and the mysterious disappearance of their only daughter. People in town had always whispered about a dark secret, something to do with the Willoughby wealth, a hidden inheritance, and a curse on the estate. But no one knew the full story. Clara's instincts told her that the man's death wasn't random. Whoever he was, he had come to the Willoughby estate for a reason. But what was he looking for? 3 days later, the investigation had been frustratingly slow. Clara had sent the locket and the documents to forensics, hoping to find a connection, but nothing substantial had come back. The body remained unidentified, and no one in town knew who he could be. Then, a breakthrough. A letter had been found tucked between the pages of an old book in the Willoughby estate library. The letter, dated several years ago, was from a private investigator named Andrew Blackwood. The letter spoke of a search for a missing woman, a woman named Amelia Willoughby. It seemed that Amelia had been trying to escape her family's dark legacy, and Blackwood had been hired to find her. Clara felt a chill run down her spine. She was no longer dealing with just a murder. This was part of something much bigger. She visited the local archives the next morning, pulling up every record she could find about the Willoughby family. Amelia Willoughby had disappeared after the fire, and no one had seen or heard from her since. But the letter suggested that someone was still looking for her. And the mysterious man's death. It seemed likely that he had been involved in this search. Perhaps he had come too close to uncovering something that someone wanted to stay hidden. As Clara pieced together the puzzle, she began to suspect that the Willoughby estate wasn't just an abandoned relic. It was a key to a long-buried secret. The final reveal. It wasn't until Clara interviewed the last living member of the Willoughby family, a cousin named Harold, that the full truth finally came to light. "I never wanted to be part of it," Harold confessed. "The money, the land, it was all cursed. My cousin Amelia, she was going to expose everything. The truth about the fire, about her parents, and what they were involved in. But she vanished before she could do anything." Clara pressed him. "And the man who died?" Harold lowered his head. His name was Benjamin Gray. He was the investigator who was looking for Amelia. But what he didn't know was that there were people who didn't want her found. People who had kept the truth buried for years. And now that he had uncovered too much, they made sure he wouldn't live to tell the tale. As Clara walked out of the Willoughby estate, she looked back at the mansion one last time. The fog had cleared, but the mystery had only deepened. Amelia Willoughby might still be alive, but if she was hiding from something far darker than anyone could have imagined. And Clara, she would be the one to find her.